welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James, the Fat Man Stevens, Ryan, who the hell is that, Preston, and Rob, the old guy.
Hey, I'm here today.
And his drop.
How do you
I've made it another.
How do you still screw up Ryan's opening?
I just.
Who the heck is that? It's not who the hell is that?
He keeps changing
Who
it.
the fuck is that?
Oh, is that what it is? Well, one of these days I'll just.
It's for all of Ryan's multiple personalities.
I'll have to get it right.
Yeah.
So, have any of you heard of UFC fighter Joaquin Buckley? And I think that's how you say it. It's Joaquin.
That's how you spell Joaquin.
So I totally dig.
I agree with that part, but no, I've never heard of him.
So this dude is pretty cool. I wanted to give it a shout out to him. Doubt he's ever heard of us. Probably never will. But this guy, after having two insane KO wins, still works at Walgreens.
He needs a better manager.
Well, here's the thing. He says he's got two of the best knockouts of the year, but UFC Rising Star. Oh, this is by TMZ, by the way.
Well,
Joaquin Buckley.
Ends it there. I don't want to hear it.
Joaquin Buckley says he's still not ready to quit his day job at Walgreens. Buckley first went viral for an insane spinning back kick knockout of Impa Kazagnage. Close enough. Dana praised him as one of the greatest finishes ever. And basically one of the reasons why is he doesn't want to quit his day job at 26 years old is he doesn't have
health insurance
business. He doesn't have something else to rely upon. He says he's not ready to part ways with a big W just yet. He said, the thing is, besides UFC, and they're giving me these big checks, I still don't have a business of my own. So I need to keep working, Buckley says. The fighter says it's important to him to maintain
Good for him.
a working mentality, work ethic. So I'm going to just keep holding down a job. Buckley says if he's able to grow a real business from his MMA exposure, he'd consider walking away from the big W. But right now, he's not going anywhere. I love this dude. I actually want to see I'm going to have to see if I can dig up his fight. Buckley says he's working.
I'm sure you can.
Buckley says he's working on a clothing apparel line called Solid Foundation, and he's optimistic about it. But quote, until my business is off the ground, we still gonna be working at Walgreens. I love that. I love the fact you have
good for him.
I do wonder, what does he do at Walgreens? Because if he's a cashier and he looks like he took a punch to the face,
Everybody has to wear
He's
masks.
a stock boy.
Wait a minute, everybody's got to wear masks.
Pharmacist.
Wait a minute, you don't see his face. You got to wear a mask.
I don't know. I don't remember if it
You
says.
can get away with anything.
I don't remember what it says he does though, but that's
Food
true.
in your teeth.
Wearing the mask is definitely easier.
Yeah, I mean,
I love the guy though. It just reminds me of the old, of just some of the old school baseball players you hear. I mean, besides the fact baseball didn't pay a lot of money back in the day, but most of the guys had off-season jobs. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty badass.
that used to be the way for politicians too, until they decided that they want to stay on for all their entire life on the public dole.
That is true. I remember. I think it was like right before high school. I went and I looked and had all the actual politicians and what their actual careers were before, and a lot of them actually went right back to that after they served their. Most of the time they just served one term in the Senate or Congress, and a lot of presidents. Some of them, I wouldn't say a lot. Let me just rephrase that. Not a lot, but quite a few presidents actually went back to doing either hobbies that they enjoyed or other jobs instead of, still being in the public eye.
Didn't one of the Bushes go back to straight up being a fucking rancher?
Yeah.
Allegedly, that's what George W. Bush does. I don't know how much is true.
He's got quite the ranch. They sell all kinds of exotic trees, and they've got quite an operation going for him.
Because I know he sold his his ranch he had when he was in the White House. I know he sold that one.
Well, whatever he's got now, he's pretty happy. I just saw a show with him.
So, Rob, have you heard of Vera?
I'm sorry that
you cut out.
Have you heard of Vera?
Yes.
The Japanese radio astronomy project?
Yeah.
So apparently they just remapped the Milky Way and how we are. And we're going 7 kilometers faster per second. 7 kilometers per second faster than we were predicted beforehand.
Oh. So we're expanding at a quicker rate.
No, not necessarily, according to the article I was reading on this, is that the projections were wrong before.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like we're actually speeding up towards the supermassive black hole in the middle of the Milky Way.
Okay.
Which I hope most people actually do realize that that's what is at the center of our Milky Way. We're slowly moving into a black hole.
Yeah.
But none of us will be alive to actually see that.
I think we're going to get eaten alive by another galaxy before,
yes. Yeah, that's Neil deGrasse Tyson actually believes that as well. He says that we're going to actually have a collision with another galaxy and then be consumed by that galaxy and spin around that super massive black hole. But anyways, that's a whole nother
But before that happens, our sun explodes and we all die before that.
So
actually,
trust us, we'll all be so long gone.
No, the sun's not actually going to explode. It's actually going to expand. So once it actually finishes this cycle in which it's consuming, I believe it's iron ore in the super combustion of it, it's going to expand and then start to produce a different type of raw material that it's going to be consuming and basically having the radioactive explosions in it. But that's what's going to happen before it turns into that. So it's going to go into another dwarf cycle.
I was going to say, doesn't it turn into a supernova, and as soon as after that it goes into a dwarf star?
Yeah. So it's not actually going to explode. that thought process is wrong.
So the real question about all of this is, there's some high forehead egghead type that is just paralyzed with fear that somehow in 60 billion years the Earth is either gonna be baked alive, swallowed by a black hole, or apparently be sawed in half like something you put through a jigsaw.
Yeah,
I just like that as the thought of like, oh, so you think you're important, huh?
Really.
How little the universe gives a shit about you.
That's for sure.
Yeah. You think you're important? In 60 billion years, we're going to be baked Alaska.
Well, that's what I find funny about the whole thing of Ryan's thing. Ryan mentioning that we're actually going to collide with another galaxy, basically, which is what we're going to do at some point. It's not going to happen anytime in our near future. But at some point, we probably will end up colliding with a whole nother galaxy. And then whichever one is the bigger one, or whichever one has the more massive, basically pull of their supernova, is going to be the one who wins that. But during all that, all of our planets and other stars that are in each of those galaxies are going to be basically colliding with each other, destroying each other, creating new planets. And it's like, so our planet really we're going to be basically turned into either another basically planet that does nothing, has no life on it, which I don't see how life can continue to be supported on this planet once we collide with another galaxy. But yeah, it's like, we really don't have any say in what the hell is going to happen. I mean, if you really look at it from cosmic scale.
Now I have the song play "Wish You Were Here" playing in my head. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you should be playing it as we're colliding with another galaxy.
Yeah, absolutely. What the hell?
So did we talk about the WWF or /WWE issue with unions and their independent contractors?
Not to my knowledge. You might have talked about it. I might not have listened.
Let's go from the Milky Way to WWE.
Well, see, this is the best.
What a great segue.
This is the best part about this show is nobody's going to guess what the hell we're talking about.
That's for sure.
Well, this is pretty interesting.
Well, they had to assume that we were going to get to the breaking news of whatever's going on in WWE.
You have to.
Well, no, this is the thing that
we have to report once a week on the breaking news, no matter what.
Well, this is the interesting.
Come on, the kids are clamoring for it.
Was it that the guy who ran for?
No, guys, keep going. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
Keep interrupting, John.
Keep going, Jonathan.
The guy. Oh, cool. The guy,
You had your chance.
No one's going to make fun of you for this at all.
so the gentleman who ran for president during the Democratic when they're picking what their candidate,
Al Gore?
something Ang. I can't remember his last name or first name. Excuse
Hey,
me.
this is your story, dude.
But no, see the interesting thing.
Don't
is
look at me.
He's hoping to be elected as Biden's jobs.
WWE guy.
Yeah, well, no. Let me explain it, damn it.
I'm sorry.
So this gentleman who tried to run for president is hoping to be elected as part of the job.
Are you talking about Andrew Yang?
Andrew Yang, that's it. Thank you, Yang. I knew it was close. Andrew Yang wants to be put on Biden's board as like the job secretary or whatever the actual title is, and one of the people he wants to go after is World Wrestling Entertainment. Because they have this really weird thing where they call you an independent wrestler. You're basically an independent contractor.
You're an independent contractor, and when you're
like an Uber,
you have to renegotiate.
But you can't do anything outside of it. So much so that WWE is actually taking over by demand the streaming / Twitch channels of any of its wrestlers. Basically, demand that they shut it down, even if they're using their real name.
Can he work at Walgreens?
No, actually, unless they quit.
I'm just checking.
Well, no. The interesting thing is
story.
The interesting thing is they're saying because they own the likeness of that person, so therefore they cannot stream. And so, in some places, what they're saying is what WWE is actually doing is illegal, and it's not. And it's actually not the first time they're doing that. Matter of fact, Amazon apparently is hiring Pinkertons to monitor people who want to form unions. And that's one of the biggest things for that's happening too. Is originally there was trying to form a union, and Hulk Hogan apparently kiboshed it in WWE.
Back this up.
Mm-hmm.
They're hiring Pinkertons.
Yeah, Amazon reportedly has.
Let me clarify.
This is
what we mean by Pinkertons, okay? Because in my mind, when you say Pinkertons, I immediately go to fucking bowler hats, six shooters, waistcoats, and pocket watches.
Kevin Costner,
That's what I'm seeing.
Western horses.
I'll be honest. I'm kind of hoping that's what they're doing, so it's super obvious,
No, I know. And okay, so the Pinkertons of old, the army that was the Pinkertons, no longer exists really in that capacity anymore. They went away for a long time. They actually came back under the name Pinkertons. Have since very very much branched off into a bunch of different security companies. If anybody has ever seen the armored car people or the they're fucking rent-a-cops, they're mall cops, Securitas.
Right.
Yeah, the security.
That's owned by the Pinkerton Corporation. So they're a security corporation like anybody else, and obviously they're going to have tiers to that sort of a thing. But it's not the privately funded army that it was, with the amount of influence and things like that.
So they are owned by another company, but one of the big parts that they do is actually just like Brinks trucks, the trucks you see that go around to the stores. Yeah. They collect a lot of cash, and that kind of stuff. Can you imagine?
They're an offshoot of the Pinkertons?
I guess somebody bought the naming rights to it and decided to say it's Pinkerton Security. That's the name of.
Yeah, but there was a good fucking.
Yeah, I was thinking the Brinks trucks or
something between the end and the beginning of the new Pinkertons.
Oh yeah, the lineage is not the same. But no. The reason I brought this up is I thought this was interesting because Andrew Yang, being is a guy rallying against some of these companies that are really harming workers. I mean, the wrestlers are pissed. There's a woman goes by the name of Paige, her real name's Soraya or something like that, who put out a comment about it. And I just thought it was interesting that there's people who are starting to go after Amazon, going after entertainment companies. So I'm curious to see how far this is going to go. Will this go to, say, tech companies who are known not always have the greatest employees, handling of employees? I just thought it was interesting. This is potentially something that could be interesting to see what happens.
I'm just so tired of government just jumping in everywhere where it really doesn't need to be. I think the wrestlers would be more than able to take care of themselves and do what they feel is the right thing.
I'll tell you, Rob, in my youth and very much so to my adulthood, I've got a very sort of a liberal mindset when it comes to most things. But as I've gotten older, one, I think what a Republican was or conservative was very kind of misrepresented, and there's a lot of baggage that kind of comes with that. Even if somebody is like the classic sort of just, hey, small government thing. Like, I'm so behind that as an idea of just let's have the government only be involved in the shit that they really, truly need to be involved with. Matter of fact, best way I ever heard it explained, not really explained, but just a take on it, is the government is there for what you need to do at gunpoint. You know, like that they are the monopoly on force in this country. What needs to be done at the point of a gun? Protection, yeah. You know, any kind of, security, things like that, sure. But do I need a gun to build a library? To fund artists? You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't. I can fund my own artists if I want to, if I'm so inclined. So like what taxes and all those things go to for, and I'm not one of these like get rid of all social programs at all, but damn, the government's got their hand in too much shit, and they suck at everything. Like, why do we trust this organization? Like, if the government needs to do it, like, why? They fucking blow everything else.
If you want something over budget, underperforming.
The U.S. government, accept no substitutes, man.
They did screw up a whorehouse.
They did. It's true.
How do you fuck up a whorehouse?
The oldest profession in the world.
And the government couldn't do it.
In the entire history of mankind, the oldest profession.
The oldest profession ruined by the government.
And the second
headlines.
You know what the second oldest profession is? Politician.
Doctors. I was going to say doctors dealing with diseases from horses.
Probably that too.
Yeah, I generally would agree on Ryan on that, especially coming to the wrestling thing, because they're voluntarily paying to sign over their name, their visual rights for a while. But I'm super curious on how this is going to handle them being so-called private contractor.
Yeah, you get a lot of these. I mean, when you have such a name behind you, like when you want to be a wrestler, you don't dream when you're a 10-year-old about being on some third-rate fucking wrestling promotion. You want to be in the WWE. That's what you see. You know what I mean? So these kids come in there with a dream. It's the same shit that happens with people who want to be a rock star. You know what I mean? You don't dream about playing fucking bars in the Midwest on tour in a smelly van with 3 other dudes. You dream about being the fucking Rolling Stones. But so you come in there with these wide-eyed ideals, and then some, producer or whoever, gets a hold of you and says, hey, kid, we're going to make you a star, or whatever the modern-day equivalent is. And in the music industry, they started doing what they call a 360 deal. So it used to be just, hey, we have your licensing rights for your music. But, you can do your live shows, you can make appearances, you can sell merchandise, all these things there. Now the 360 deal means they get a piece of your Twitter, they get a piece of your Instagram, your merch sales, everything that you make money off of. You're signing over you as a fucking person. It's the here, sign this in blood, man.
I mean, that's
and
if you sign with a label.
Thing. They just like, hey, you want to be in the WWE? We're gonna take a fucking piece of everything you do. How bad do you want?
And I think with the only thing that I heard that people were complaining about is they're not technically employees. And so people are questioning, how can you tell people where to go, how to dress, how to act, there's like all these requirements, and then say, oh, this person can't do a show here or can't do a thing here, which I do think they do have an interesting question. How can you demand somebody who's technically not an employee demand that they do and sign up for everything? And I'm just curious what effects this is going to have on independent contractors, like people say like Uber and all these people. I know California just had a fight with that. Is they signed a law banning private 1099 contractors, and then they
lost the Uber bill.
Yeah, the proposition
right
came and passed, right? So now Uber and all this other 1099 people can do it, right?
No, so the bill was that they had to be considered employees if you were a gig employee. Yeah, may it be Uber or Lyft or Dash Hub or whatever it may be. But that bill actually didn't pass.
The proposition didn't?
Where we're trying to make them employees, forcing all these companies to have to do withholdings and everything else that you have to do when you have an employee. And then, of course, they're so large on their scale. It's it would have been a huge hit to their bottom line had that passed in California.
Yeah, that's why I'm curious in what's going to happen, because you got both sides of the scale, and I think that's something that could do something. I don't know. I thought it was super interesting because it's the first time I have seen in a long time any politician or wannabe politician specifically name the WWE. And this time it had nothing to do with.
Well, I can already see where we're heading if that's the case.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to go get an Ayn Rand book and read The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged, and just to see where we don't want to head.
So I have a transition, and whoever has a topic can go next. James,
well, you know what? On the vein of wrestling and whatnot, I was going to ask if any of you guys saw the Tyson fight.
No, I wanted to.
I watched the highlights of the one right before it. The NBA star who got knocked out
by a YouTuber.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
By a fucking YouTuber.
Actually, one of my favorite memes was before he got knocked out. He was asked to like and subscribe.
What was it, Jake Paul?
Yeah, something like that.
Jake Paul.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, there's been some pretty good memes about that one.
So what happened to the Tyson fight? I haven't heard who won, who lost, or if it was a tie.
Draw.
Was it really?
So
yeah.
They called it a draw, but here's the thing: is it leading up to it, it was two sides of the promotion coin. There was the sort of like official sanctioned boxing commission side of the promoting, where it's like, hey guys, look, this is just going to be an exhibition match. This is hard sparring. The guy's denied having headgear, so we're just going to go hard sparring. A few days before the fight or a week or so, they're talking about and we're not really going to allow any knockouts, and if there's a cut, we're going to stop the fight, things like that. And then there was the other side of the coin where everybody, including Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., were like, "What's an exhibition? I don't understand the difference."
I was to say, did anybody?
What do you mean by sparring?
I was going to say, did anybody tell Tyson that this isn't a real fight? Coming from a man who said he stopped practicing boxing because he was scared of the person that made him. That's a direct quote from him. Yeah. Because he didn't like who he was as a boxer.
Yeah, he's a completely different person now. So he's an old man.
Yeah, but there's no fucking version of Tyson who's not trying to knock your head off. That's him in sparring.
So how
any of that dude's sparring partners for his entire life, and they're going to tell you this guy was trying to knock me the fuck out.
So on the scale of Muhammad Ali, Rumble in the Jumble, to Golden Boy versus Pacquiao, where was this? Far as a fight, do you think?
Well, this is nowhere near. It's apples and oranges to a certain extent because it's it was an exhibition between a couple of fucking old guys. That's what it was for. So you can't really compare it. Thinking, this is what would have happened when both of these guys were in their primes.
What were they paid?
At least $1 million each.
I want to say $30 million.
30 million each.
But 30 million each, and I think literally all of it is going to charity.
So
man,
I would get in the ring right now for 30 million.
So James,
I think I'd get in the ring with Mike Tyson for 30 million.
What the heck? A couple of blows. Go down real quick. Fake a cut.
I mean, as soon as the bell rings, I'm dropping. I ain't getting up.
So James, do you think this is like watching Golden Boy and Pacquiao fight?
No, as far as what I could tell is it was a good fight. They really put their effort in, and it's just what I've read. I haven't actually seen it, but it was a good fight. They put their effort in, and it was a draw.
What did it cost to watch it?
$50.
$50. Me and a buddy went in on it together.
Wow.
Because I was born in 1985 when he became a pro.
Oh, okay.
I've been literally watching Mike Tyson my entire life, so I was very excited about this.
I wanted to see it, but I didn't know where you could watch it.
The whole card was actually pretty good.
I know.
It was way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. But then all of a sudden, Tyson and Jones come out, and neither one of them looked like they were in their 50s. They were putting it together. I would say Roy Jones Jr. got more tired the last 3 rounds than Tyson did. Tyson came in looking fucking furious.
So I saw an interview with Tyson.
Good.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Tyson about a month before the bout, and he was talking about his workout regimen. And I mean, my God, for an old guy, he was really going with it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wonder he's on the Sylvester Stallone fires thing, because Sylvester Stallone is on HGH and he's on testosterone.
They probably did everything they could.
They had to get it sanctioned.
Yeah.
They had to get it sanctioned through the boxing commission, so they did drug tests. I'm 90% sure on that.
Well, so if it was an actual sanction and not just a straight exhibition match.
No, the boxing commission had to fucking sanction it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why they had to call it an exhibition, because they, for one, aren't going to throw any belts or anything on the line. It's not for any other purposes other than this one fight.
Can you imagine a fight?
But Tyson said at the end he's going to fight again.
Yeah, well,
Really?
I mean,
I didn't hear that.
the fight's under COVID rules. So, did they have to quarantine with each other before the fight?
Yeah, they did the whole thing, the whole 9 leading up to it.
Man.
And it was really cool how they actually did the show. They ended up basically blacking out everything but the ring itself, and the ring was small. It was in Tyson's favor how small that fucking ring was.
So they did this old school. They did the light over the ring, dimmed crowd.
Yep.
This was like 1930s boxing.
It could have been one person or 1,000 people. You wouldn't have been able to tell. It looked great.
That's awesome. That's actually
really cool. And then I swear to God, they were fighting in a phone booth, man. That ring was tiny.
So what do you think it was, 16 or 18 feet across?
Oh, man, I don't know.
Whatever boxing ring sizes are, I'd have to look it up. I'm sure there's it'd probably be regulation, would be my guess.
The size of a prison cell.
No, it was not. It was not a regulation boxing ring. Well, no, I mean, it was a type of boxing ring, but it was not a full-size boxing ring.
Well, so it appered not to be, but I wonder if it really was. I mean, why would they go?
Absolutely was not.
So they didn't. Okay, so.
Okay, here's a standard ring, according to Wikipedia boxing ring. A standard ring is between 16 and 20 feet. So
by what?
Just says to do 6. It just says 16, so it's probably 16 by 16 or 20 by 20.
No, it's a rectangle. It's not a square.
16 by 16.
It's not a square.
It's a square.
16 by 16.
16 by 16 would be a square.
Yeah, boxing rings are squares.
No, they're rectangles.
Are they really?
No, there's.
Well, I guess it depends. Obviously, there must be multiple. Maybe I'm wrong.
I never thought they were rectangles. I know that's stupid, but I never thought about it.
It's
I thought they were slightly
referred to as the squared circle.
Yeah.
I always thought they were slightly longer. One side was so the ring was longer from the opposing corner. I may be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
So I guess it would be then if it was an exhibition. I wonder if that would be a smaller size, like say like a 16-foot ring, especially for a couple of old guys, and you'd want to have it entertaining. So if it was 20 feet,
that's the reason that it was. That's the reason it was chosen. It was not because it was an exhibition. It was because they're old and they wanted to give them some. They wanted to tighten it up so it wasn't just a dance the entire time.
Yeah, well,
it's like watching some of the latest UFC fights I've seen where they're, These one guy's laying on their back, the other person's charging, and they're both breathing really heavy.
Well, good for him.
Well,
I'm glad to hear it was
at a high
entertaining.
level.
At least it was entertaining.
It was very good.
Yeah,
good. It was very entertaining. I mean, there's clips all over the internet now that you can watch it. It was not just watching two old guys try to feel young again. It was a good fight.
So what was it?
That's what I heard.
Oh God, what's the name? The George guy.
George Foreman?
Yeah,
George
like
Foreman?
watching some of the George Foreman comeback matches weren't particularly exciting.
You know,
and he was a hell of a boxer.
You know,
back
the
in
interesting about George Foreman is that his fights weren't exciting.
Ever?
He just hit like crazy. I mean, you know, you didn't want to get hit by him.
So I wonder if it was like
George Foreman was a scary son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So it was like watching I don't know if you can compare the two, but I hate watching Floyd Mayweather matches because I've never seen one that was exciting. All of them are just the ones I've seen are all dull. I mean, the dude's an amazing boxer.
Talking about?
Floyd Money Mayweather or Merriweather, however the fuck you say his last name.
Mayweather.
Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
You knew who I was talking about. You're just being a dick.
You're surprised?
No, not really.
Okay.
But I mean, the dude, watching the guy's kind of boring, though, I think.
Well, you know what? If you really want to be excited about boxing, it generally isn't heavyweights. Watch the flyweight guys.
Right.
You know, I mean, these guys are just wailing away.
That's where I got introduced to Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, he's an amazing boxer.
Lower weights, and he's a badass boxer. And I mean, I always enjoyed watching him because he's not only fast, but he can take a hit, and he was very technical in his strikes back.
Oh, it's amazing difference.
Like not wasting any.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I also brought up, like, in a really amazing botcher, having a very bad match was the Oscar De La Hoya Pacquiao fight.
Yeah. Because
Pacquiao went up a class, Golden Boy went down a class, and it was like watching somebody get mugged. James and I both felt guilty for watching it. It was... That's why to me it's like
that's one of the few fights I won't watch again because it was just so bad,
so one-sided,
so sad.
Yeah, so outmatched. Well, that always happens.
Did you ever see was it the Philadelphia's the movie where Tom Hanks played a guy who got AIDS towards the end of the movie? He got super skinny. That's what he looked like. He looked emaciated. He didn't look like he could barely raise his arm. It was.
If you haven't seen that, just look at The Machinist.
Oh yes, that's a better example. It looked horrible. It was an amazingly bad fight.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was so brutal. You're just like wishing that the ref would just call the fight within like 30 seconds of the first round.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, after you saw like after you saw them come out and you saw them start to square up, you're just like, this can't be good. This is not. And I was right. You know, you're just like, I'm watching De La Hoya get murdered.
All for a paycheck, man.
I'll do a lot for a paycheck. I would not do that.
You're right. I wouldn't either, but that's what a lot of these guys do. They'll go in.
I don't know if you guys remember a guy named Ken Shamrock. He was in the first UFC ever, and he did some wrestling. He was all over the place. Him and his brother
Frank,
whose name, thank you, Frank Shamrock. But Ken Shamrock was, again, in the very, very first UFC, and I want to say 1994.
It was 92.
Fighting against, was it 92?
It was early 90s. I think it was like 92.
It was definitely early 90s for sure. But in any case, he was a shoot fighter, which is just style of like wrestling, you know.
Both 93.
Okay, there we go.
I'm sure there's a point to the story. I'm waiting for it, other than trying to figure out what date it is, for crying out loud. Jeez.
Well, that was James fucking trying to.
I know.
November 12th, 1993.
Yeah, I knew it. Couldn't do it. Couldn't leave it alone, could you?
Anyway, the last fight that he did in the UFC was not that long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, I would say. And he's done a lot of like commentating and stuff since, but he fought until very, very recently, like into his 50s.
Oof. Wow.
I want to say he was about 50.
I wonder how much arthritis that dude
now,
has.
Here's the thing: is at the end of the fight, I mean, he's fighting this young kid. I mean, I can't even remember who it was, but the dude just whooped his ass for 3 rounds. And at the end, you know, everyone's looking at him like, "Oh man, are you hanging it up?" And everyone told me I shouldn't do this, and everyone told me, "Oh, I'm too old," and all this stuff. And I'll never forget. All he said was like, "Look, I feel like at this point I've earned the right to fight for fun." I think when these guys have done this for just so long that's what they do, that's what they know, and even if they're in their 50s, they're like this is what I'm good at, you know.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys ever?
Even if I can't really hang with these young guys anymore.
Did you ever get a chance to watch Sugar Ray Leonard fight?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
yeah.
you got to watch it because you know
Gosh,
here's a guy that I think he won world titles in 5 different weight divisions.
Damn.
In his boxing career. He was
fucking 3 that I can remember.
He's unbelievable. I mean, the guy he had to stop. He stopped fighting because I believe he had a detached retina after a fight, and once you have one, you don't want to have head blows because you're liable to have it again. He was in. I think he may have had him on both eyes, and he was going to go blind if he continued boxing. And so he had to stop. But if you want to talk about a man who was unbelievable as far as a boxer goes, I think, I mean, I'll look it up really quick. He competed from 1977 to 1997.
Damn, that's a long run.
Oh, yeah, winning world titles in 5 weight divisions. Wow. Anyway, the guy was amazing. He, you know, if for those of you out there who have never watched a Sugar Ray Leonard fight, you really ought to watch him. He was amazing.
And I will say something about Ryan talking about Ken Shamrock. 3 rounds is a pretty. I'd say that's a good showing for an older guy. It's not like Kimbo Slice who got knocked out in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
no, he's a very tough fucking guy, man. You can't hardly do anything to hurt this dude after.
Who do you think
is his head so many times?
So who do you think is an actual tougher fighter? I mean, like say somebody like Sugar Ray Leonard or like a Ken Shamrock. I know it's different. What you're doing is different, but if you're gonna like toughness, who do you think is?
Well, the thing about Sugar Ray Leonard, he was known for his speed. He was so fast. You know, we talked about Muhammad Ali about how fast he was. Sugar Ray Leonard was faster.
Wow.
I mean, they had to slow down the film to be able to watch the fact that he knocked somebody out. He'd hit him so hard that the guy would be down on the ground. And they went, "How did he fall? Did he trip? What happened?" No, Sugar Ray hit him so fast.
It was like the old. So it's like the old joke of Bruce Lee asking him, "Hey, would you slow down when you do a punch?"
Yeah, well,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that was what he was known for, was his speed. He was just so fast. So I don't know. You know, you mix different fighting.
He's just so fast. He makes other fast people look not fast.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Some of it was really incredible. Those were the days, pre-COVID, pre-AIDS, pre-all of that stuff. So.
When I'm 64, I hear the Beatles playing. I would play the Beatles, but they have lawyers.
I passed that up a while ago, too.
Those were the days, was not the Beatles.
Yeah, I
Beatles did a version of it.
I do kind of think about that every now and again. I'll look at somebody over the age of 50 or 60 and just be like, so pre-AIDS, what was that like?
Yeah.
Because I have no frame of reference.
There was blood everywhere, man.
So
needles being shared left and right. None of us gave a fuck.
So I actually have a weird story about this. So so I don't know why. So I had I think it was graphic arts and imaging in high school. So back in the very early aughts to late 90s, and this teacher somehow brought it up. Right? It was all using 8086s and the old telephone modems from war games. No Matthew Broderick though. I remember this teacher randomly talking about what it was like in the 60s and about the free love and you could have as much sex as you want and stuff like this. And I remember he had like a good 30-minute rant. And this is also the same teacher that later that year said, human women are the only women who have exposed breasts.
Human women. Are there non-human women?
gorillas apparently, because it's.
Okay.
He was kind of a hippie, but I just this teacher was full of great quotes. But I do remember him talking about the 60s and 70s.
You know what was still around back then? Syphilis and gonorrhea. So free love, and back then was not always free.
This is true. Ask Scarface, because he went crazy because he died of needles.
And cry me a river.
Yeah.
Unless you're allergic to it. He didn't. Al Capone actually apparently.
Amoxicillin, God forbid.
Amoxicillin. Okay.
Al Capone apparently hated needles, which is a reason why he never got anything treated. From what I've read.
Whatever.
Oh.
Saved him from a really long jail sentence, I guess.
This is true.
Kind of worked out in his favor, although, I mean, I understand syphilis is not something you want to die from.
No, I've heard that that's not a good thing.
But if there's ever a guy you want to die from syphilis,
your best few weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
If there's ever a guy you want to die from syphilis, he's like in the top 10.
Caligula.
So you don't know, James Earl Jones decided to go uncredited for his role of voice acting Darth Vader because he considered David Pro's performance inside the Vader costume to be the more defining of the two performances. And that gentleman just passed away within the last week or two.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so that brings up Mandalorian. Do you guys watch that?
I've been watching the first season.
Season?
Yeah.
So
I have not seen the episode for Friday. I was waiting a bit on it.
Oh man, the latest episode is so good.
So
very good.
Is there a reason why people are hating on Yoda? Is it
No, you mean baby Yoda?
Yeah, there's a ton of people who are hating on Yoda for multiple reasons online.
Yoda.
No, it's not.
Well,
it's
that's the same species, and nobody apparently realizes that according to expanded universe, the original universe, Yoda's master wasn't exactly a nice guy, from what I've read.
Okay, so technically, Yoda is alive during this whole thing.
Yes.
This is right after the first Death Star blows up, and in between that and the building of the next Death Star. That's the time period that this is all happening in.
Wait. During one of the episodes, I thought they talked about both Death Stars.
Yes, so did I.
No, they did. There was an episode where they went to that sand. Was it Tatooine? Something like that, where that one guy.
No, it was after the fall of the Empire.
Yeah, this is the fall of the Empire.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so that's right. The whatever period.
It's 5 years after.
That's right.
5 years after Return of the Jedi.
So what's interesting is there's really hardly any Jedis at all at this point. And I don't want to. I mean, I don't want this to be a spoiler episode for those.
I already know Ahsoka's in it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, so then you know.
There is this thing called the internet.
Well, I didn't know if you were into spoilers or not. So, but there may be one listener out there
on the last episode.
Episode is so good.
So so without going too much detail, and since the cat's out of the bag a little bit, what do you think about the woman who played said character? Because the pictures I've seen are spot on.
Yeah. So there's been some controversy about her.
You mean Rosario Dawson?
Yeah.
So I thought it was perfect. Although I will say that the head was supposed to be part of her head and all that.
She's a Twi'lek, so she's got the tentacle head.
Yeah. It was a little odd. I'm not sure that they got that spot on, although I've heard some.
So, I've seen some pictures of it. Now, moving around, is it as bad as the ones from the Return of the Jedi when they show them there?
No. It's better than that.
Well, look, that was hold on a second. First of all, that was the first time that any of us had ever seen a Twi'lek, so they get to decide what that looks like.
Was that good or not?
Is trying to be that.
Well, this is the first live action version of it, of set, because that.
No, it isn't. Jedi had a Twi'lek in Baba's.
No, I didn't think. I didn't think she was a. I didn't think she was that character because. I just saw.
No, that's not her
species.
Character.
Yeah, her species.
I thought her species was a different species than Twi'lek because I remember I read today that they said she is not one of them.
Well, anyway, it was okay. I thought personally she did a very good job of being a Jedi for what she was.
I'll tell you what, I liked speaking of the tentacles, I liked that they went practical and they didn't try to make it some weird CGI thing. I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Despite their sort of kind of, it took me a minute to kind of get used to them, let's say. Despite that, really, like I preferred it to some weird CGI thing.
So, you know what I really liked? Some of the effects that I liked in this last episode was particularly her fighting in the fog or the mist or whatever that was, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so, you didn't see the lightsabers that were on all the time. She when she needed to, she got in there and kicked ass and turned them off and moved away and hid around. And it looked, that was more realistic to me. That was some of the best Jedi fighting, I thought, that I've seen. Yeah. It was really, really good.
She went like very, very like ninja samurai style with that. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was great. It done really weird. Now, it was weird her working with the Mandalorian. But hey,
yeah. Well, let's stop talking about it because James haven't said anything.
Okay, so she's not. So she's not. She's a TOGU. She's not a Twi'lek. She's something else. It's TOGRUTA.
Okay. So now.
Well, then never mind.
Have you guys,
do whatever you want with
what do we know? I don't know anything.
Well, this is according to Wookie. This is Wikipedia.
Heard about the fans getting mad at Gina Carano?
Yes. Why?
Now, okay. Well, hold on. I'm going to get to it. Fans are also mad at Rosario Dawson.
Is this an anti-woman thing?
And that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, so what the big thing about Gina Carano is she doesn't want to wear a mask.
Right.
She doesn't believe people should be forced to wear a mask. So people are bashing her, and there's a group of Star Wars fans apparently that are even trying to get her fired.
So you're talking about like COVID related, not masks, not a Mandalorian mask. Okay.
No.
Oh, she's an anti-masker. I was.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
And now people are also mad at Rosario Dawson because apparently, I don't know how long ago, she was sued over a transphobic assault. I'm like, leave these fucking people alone. Why the hell do people even give a crap
what they do in their fucking personal lives?
Right?
I don't give a shit. Like you're in this show. I like you as an actor. I like the characters you play. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care. Like.
And that's kind of where I'm at. I want Gina Carano to keep with this character. I like the character she's playing.
I do too.
It's one of the best roles I've ever seen her do acting, and I've seen her stupid whatever action film that she did, which was really stupid.
But she's really good in this. She does a good job in this part. No, I really like it.
I blame the writers on that one, not necessarily Gina Carano. And then, I mean, I'm not the biggest Rosario Dawson fan, but I'm looking forward to seeing her do this role.
So let me get this straight.
I've been a fan of Rosario Dawson since Clerks too.
I thought you liked her from Kids.
I was going to say Kids for me.
So
for sure, but I really became endeared to her from Clerks.
So let me get this straight. For Gina, it's because she's an anti-masker. For Rosario Dawson, it's because she beat up a trans woman.
She was sued over a transphobic assault, is what it is.
Yeah.
The lawsuit was thrown out. So it never came to anything. But people are claiming that
just like stepped on somebody's shoe, and because it was Rosario Dawson, they filed a
Okay, so it's physical assault. Okay.
People can sue for anything.
Excuse me, sir, and it was some chick or something. I have no idea. But yeah, you're right. It was probably something like that, and they claimed assault. I don't care. I don't really want to know. Well, that's her personal life. If Gina Carano wants to wear a mask or thinks masks are stupid, that's fine. I think masks are kind of stupid too. Doesn't mean that she's going around not wearing one.
See, this is the
right. You can have an opinion and yet still wear a mask.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, I literally have an opinion that masks are stupid, but I still wear one because I actually like my job.
I don't know. So
and I'll tell you what, I'm very much for the mask, and I'm sick to fucking death of them.
Literally.
So I got to figure out where I want to get some MadTrio masks made, because if I got to wear something, I'm going to fucking advertise. I've been thinking about this a while, and I kind of talked about it a little bit, how in the past I had a hard time separating people's comments from who they are. And now I'm at the opposite end, because now that's where we are. You have people bringing up Mel Gibson. Apparently Gina's like, because she's an anti-masker.
Who cares? She does a great job in this series, and
you know what? Look, I mean, maybe it wasn't even like I mean, we're throwing the label anti-masker, but I mean, it could have been she said one fucking thing about it in the beginning of Rona, and maybe has since changed her mind. But you know, we literally, like the three of us just now, took that from she said something negative about the mask to she's an anti-masker, like she's out there fucking picketing.
But honestly, even
right.
But I think
walking on Hollywood Boulevard with a sign saying,
yeah, like you know, we attached
because it's
a
while since I read the article.
So. Wait, hold on, Ryan, time out, James.
So I looked it up I've read this like a couple of weeks ago about Gina Carano, because I saw something about like, oh, fans are mad at her. She posted, let's see, 1, 2, 3, no, 1, 2, 3, 4. So she posted like about probably like maybe 5 or 6 tweets that I'm not seeing here of things saying, you know, either masks don't work or that she just isn't into them. Yeah. So that's it. And then I see one also about supporting the voter fraud, saying that, you know, there is voter fraud out there. So there's those things, and I guess apparently that's what fans are pissed off at her about, is because of her personal views.
Tell them to get over themselves.
Wow. If I'm at the point where I'm willing to forgive, like, I'll watch a Whoopi Goldberg movie now, because...
Oh, wait. Changed my mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't forgive Whoopi Goldberg.
See, this is the thing I'm on, is because like there's actors who have said
you can still watch Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I can. You're right. You're right, and she did a good job in it, and she was a good character. Yeah.
I will never say that she was a bad character in that. I actually like that role, but there are times when I see her in that, I'm just like, shut up. But you know what? She does a good job in that.
Yes, she did.
I mean, I liked her roles in the early 90s and those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we live in a society that whatever you post, whatever you say that you do online or in any version of the media gets spread over millions of people within minutes.
Right.
And then
and not
you
to get stocked away in somebody's file to use on you later.
We live in a post-forgiveness world, because nowadays people, like everybody, all of a sudden
better be pre-forgiveness the way things are going.
Well, but
I'm going to forgive you right now for whatever you're going to say.
Right?
You're forgiven.
I don't know if I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I have pastor friends going, and that's why Jesus died on the cross. Thank you. So the only reason I say that is because now it's like everybody's like your teenage sister, like you're like that one sibling you don't get along with. They're bringing up shit from 20 years ago that only, you know, that you're the only person who remembers.
Well, it's like trying to remember the MMA. I mean, you were talking about Gina.
Okay, and then
so.
And then let me throw this in as a possible hypothesis here. I'm a fucking news editor, and I'm looking at my staff Monday morning going, hey, we need something for you know, this week's fucking issue. Find me somebody who's pissed off at Mandalorian right now. Because everybody loves Mandalorian. If we print something where people are pissed off, it's going to start the fucking flames. It's going to turn into the usual dumpster fire.
Yes, I want to get more views. So let's start.
And then we're talking about it right now. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about it because we think it's ridiculous. Other people might be talking about it because they agree. But it's this manufactured, like there was 4 fucking people that even noticed to give a shit.
Here, I got it.
And now you've brought it to our attention as if it's a big fucking deal. Not you, John, but, you know, media.
Well, here, I got a quote for you to add to Star Wars fans. Star Wars Mandalorian, the only TV show in the world that would make redneck zombies by trauma seem like Titanic.
All right.
What do you think? Do you think that would be enough to get people pissed off, or you think that's too...
Got me pissed off right now.
See? Hey! I'm sorry, I just couldn't help it. Man, we're running.
Gina's 38. My God.
I never understood her shtick. I never thought she was an amazing fighter, especially once the point everybody started calling her the face of MMA. When they started caring more about her looks than her ability.
It even took me way into the first episode she appeared in to even realize who it was. Even though I knew who she was, all of a sudden it dawned on me and went, oh.
I think it helps. It's been a while before she's she's really been in the spotlight.
Well, maybe that's it. But it was.
Well, she kind of.
Well, she was in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
But she actually didn't say anything in Deadpool, which is why I wasn't expecting much from her acting in Mandalorian. But I've so far very much enjoyed her.
I have too. You're absolutely right.
If they bring if they keep Gina, I want them to bring Cyborg as a bad guy somewhere in the TV show.
I didn't even know she was in Fast and Furious 6, but I haven't seen Fast and Furious 6.
I haven't either.
But the movie I was trying to think of was Haywire, which is the one that she starred in.
I told you fucking Haywire.
I wasn't listening to you.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
You did.
You two are probably talking over each other.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that was a
moving right
that
along.
movie was just an excuse to show off her wrestling and jiu-jitsu skills.
Probably.
Yeah. That's literally what it was.
So
that's all she did.
Now I want to see a Gina and Ronda Rousey fight.
No way.
Gina Carano would fucking probably break Ronda Rousey. She's got like fucking 40 pounds on Ronda.
Well, Ronda Rousey's hilarious because like if you ever watched her little bit of like WWE wrestling that made her a striker, and if you watched her actually do MMA, it's like she wasn't really a striker. That's kind of why she got her ass kicked.
I'll tell you, Ronda's too sensitive. She was she's a very sensitive, misunderstood person.
I think.
Yeah, she did kind of, in my opinion, Ronda Rousey just went like, wait, what's this losing shit? I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah,
I think
I lost once.
Twice.
Well, I'm done. No.
Oh yeah.
And then she says,
my
okay, I'll try one more turn.
I would never lose.
Yeah.
I think her biggest problem, I think Joe Rogan said it, she just bought into the hype because at one point in time she was considering suicide. And I remember a lot of people going, you do realize that a lot of fighters are better after their first loss. Because once you, was it? I heard something at some point, it's like you never want to be a fighter with an undefeated record. Because it's going to fuck you up when you lose.
I mean, that's the thing is she was hanging all of her hopes on that. I'm going to be the queen of this. I'm retiring undefeated. And it's like, hey, you know what? That doesn't happen for more than one person in a fucking entire generation.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't help that I swear to God, she fought like 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Well, she was a golden child, man. She put it on the map for women. I mean, really, what she did as a pioneer cannot be fucking overstated. It really can't. It's just
I think
the way she kind of went out looked a little bit like, oh, okay, you know what? You brought up these women, got a bunch of women into it, and now it turns out that like 3 or 4 of them can beat your ass. Like, you know what? Hey, you suck it up or don't. That's cool.
I always thought that was weird because if you have like the chick like Cyborg who was absolutely brutal, was 10 times the fighter, but just wasn't attractive. Like if you put Cyborg versus Ronda Rousey, she would knock Ronda Rousey out in the first minute and a half.
Hey, this is...
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing that happened to Gina.
Yeah. That's true.
Gina went up against Cyborg, and Cyborg beat her.
Annihilated her. I remember that fight.
And for the same reason that Gina was a very one-dimensional kind of, hey, I'm going to bank on my wrestling skills when no one was really putting it all together at that time. Then you meet somebody who does, and it's like, hey, there's holes in your game.
Yeah.
You know, it's the old line of, it doesn't matter how big and bad you are, there's always somebody badder.
That's true.
Okay, that's what it comes down to. And when you buy into your own hype, like they did, you're gonna either you're gonna handle it well or you're not gonna handle it well. But I don't care how good you are, there's always somebody better.
I think that's a bummer about.
But you know what? Respect for her for taking the payday. I'm glad she's fucking found something that she can fucking do. I mean, she's still putting her body on the line like a crazy person, but. Hey, get that money, get that recognition. No hate towards it.
Oh no, I'm
absolutely.
And all love to any of them, any of these fighters or people who can find a career afterwards. I mean, I liked watching Ronda Rousey fight. You know, she was one of the more exciting fighters to actually watch, in my opinion, because you had the crowd was with her and wanted to see it, and I love that type of thing. And as far as Gina, if it, like Ryan said, if you can get a payday, why not? As long as it's not against the law and you can, you know, you can kind of sleep the night after.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Any of you have?
I think we all ran out of steam at the same time.
So do any of you have? So any of you have a final thought, as it were?
Be kind to each other.
Be kind to each other.
Why?
Stay safe out there.
It was a Jerry Springer reference.
Yeah.
I was going to say San Dimas high school football rules, but
there you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James, the Fat Man Stevens, Ryan, who the heck is that Preston, and the old guy, Rob Charney, as always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.